Joining us from Washington now, the chair of the Republican National Committee, Ronna McDaniel. Ronna, great to have you on the program today. What is making the difference for Ed Gillespie right now?
Well, Ed's finishing strong. He's putting forward a positive vision for Virginians. He's talking about the economy and tax cuts and growing jobs and wages. And Ralph Northam on the other side has shown that he's flip-flopped on major issues like sanctuary cities, on the statues. He hasn't denounced this terrible ad that was run on behalf of his campaign. He's even flip-flopped on whether or not he'll work with the president. So when you're looking at the leadership comparison, Ed Gillespie's pulling ahead because he's showing that he's a true leader for Virginia.
You know, I'm curious to know about the role of the president of the United States in this race, because wouldn't you say that he put this state in play for Republicans with a 6-point deficit, but still that was slim in the presidential election for the state of Virginia?
Well, the president's been all in with Ed. He's tweeted about it today. He dropped robocalls into the state yesterday, and today he's been pushing his voters to get out and support Ed Gillespie. But at the end of the day, and I was Michigan chair, I think every race comes down to the candidates that are running and the vision they're putting forward. I think voters are less and less concerned about what Washington says or endorsements. They're more concerned about what is Ed Gillespie putting forward and what is Ralph Northam putting forward. And when you look at the two visions that they're putting forward to their state, for their state, Ed Gillespie wins hands down.
Yeah, but it certainly hasn't hurt him to also borrow some of the principles and some of the language from the president in recent days, as you've seen. And you're right. I mean, every race has its kind of own personality, if you will. But the president has played a role in this, again, putting this Democratic state into play in a presidential election. I want to move on to, you talk about your past history in Michigan and those lessons you learned. If you don't win, what are some of the lessons you'll take away from this and say, okay, we're going to apply these next time?
Well, I do look at every race as individual, so I don't look at it as a bellwether for what's happening. At the RNC, though, we've been all in Virginia. We've knocked 3 million doors. I feel very good about our ground game, our voter contacts. We're going to continue to do that in all these battleground states. And with our record fundraising, with the support of President Trump and those small dollar donations that are pouring into the RNC, we're able right now to be in all these battleground states and start setting up our data and our ground game like we've done in Virginia.
Yeah, I hear you alluding to my next question, and that's money, money, money. The DNC, compared with the RNC, is in trouble right now. What kind of an advantage does that give you in terms of their inability to raise funds right now compared with yours?
Well, it's a huge advantage. One is it shows the enthusiasm for the president with his base, that the RNC is doing so well with fundraising, especially with donors under $200. But secondly, and which is so important for me as RNC chair, is now I have the resources to be in the states early. I'm already putting state directors in battleground states and data directors. It takes a long time to build a ground game. It takes over 2 years. And so to have that advantage right now going into these midterms, I think it puts us well ahead of the Democrats. And when you have races that are won on the margins, it's going to depend on the ground game. And that's what we're focused on at the RNC.
Talk to me a little bit about intensity, because you always hear people talk about voter intensity. And I don't know if dollars make a sense. Those door knocks do, though, because that's one-on-one contact. And I guess that's not free. You got to spend money to get those door knocks. But what is driving particularly Virginia voters, you've talked about, but Republican voters to the polls? Where is the intensity for them?
Well, across the country, we are seeing a huge intensity among our base for tax reform and tax cuts, things that are going to get our economy going, jobs, wages. We've seen wages stagnate under the Obama economy. We haven't seen growth in our country. So that's something Republicans across the board are looking at. And that's why Ed Gillespie's message is resonating in Virginia, because he's talking about jobs and the economy and growing the Commonwealth of Virginia's economy. So that's something Republicans across the board support. And I will say they support the president. They want to see him get his agenda passed, and they want to see Republicans work with him and Democrats work with him to pass things that are going to help the American people.
Yeah, I see the smile in you in this. I mean, this is a big day, and you've got the money to do what you think you need to do. You know, I want to bring up one state, New Jersey, though, that has been kind of problematic with Chris Christie's approval rating. I mean, in the bottom of the bucket right now. You've got his Lieutenant Governor, Kim Gubernatorial, who's going against Phil Murphy in New Jersey. Where do you put that race? I mean, that's a typical place. You saw a difference with Christie, but typically it has been Democrat in the past. And a return to Republican again. What do you think your chances are there?
Well, both of these races today, Virginia and New Jersey, went for Democrats in 2016. We know they went with Hillary Clinton. They're tough races for Republicans. I'll say Kim has run a great race. I think she's created some real differences between her and Phil Murphy in the final days of the race, specifically on his stance to make New Jersey a sanctuary state.
That's very true.
But it's a tough race, and Republicans have a tough time there. But we're hoping for a win there as well. We're going to look at the results tonight, and we hope we come out on top, but New Jersey has been a tougher race than it's been in the past for us.
One of the things, real quickly, before I let you go, that made the difference that we've been able to watch here from New York is the debates. Guadagno seemed to do well against Phil Murphy in the debate. Probably, I would think, her closeness with Chris Christie, because he's one heck of a debater.
Yeah, she's a fighter. She came after Phil Murphy. I think she's created great separation. She's been pushing on the issues, and she and Ed Gillespie have run really strong campaigns in Virginia and New Jersey, in states that Democrats won in 2016, and we're hoping to keep New Jersey Republican and switch Virginia tonight.
Yeah. Well, as you know, on the other side of the aisle with the DNC, there's a little bit of a distraction with a tell-all book that's come out by the former interim chair. So that's playing a role, too, as you go forward in at least the conversations. We appreciate this one. Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.